A Sumerian stone carving of the first recorded war in history, circa 2500 BCE. Of course, there were conflicts prior to this date, but since these events predated writing, there are no contemporary accounts of them. See another segment of this stone carving below. Early scribes from Mesopotamia were able to leave behind history's first known preserved accounts of war. Warfare is as old as civilization itself. In fact, experts believe that the first armed conflicts were fought more than 10,000 years ago by prehistoric city-states in present-day Syria, Jordan, and Iraq. These early contests were likely waged over resources, goods, or land. Yet, since such events predate the advent of writing by some 7,000 years, we have scant knowledge of these first fights, save for what archaeologists have been able to glean from the smallest fragments of information. That said, here's what we do know. Natufian ruins at Jericho. The ancient prehistoric peoples built history's first known fortifications. BCE. The earliest physical evidence of an actual battle comes several thousand years later from the ancient city of Hamukar. Sometime between 4000 BCE and 3500 BCE, the region surrounding the fledgling city-state, which was located in what is now northeastern Syria, was invaded and colonized by the expanding realm of the Uruks of southern Mesopotamia. Historians believe that the Uruks migrated north along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers out of what is now Iraq into Syria on a campaign of expansion and colonization. It's possible that the residents of Hamukar resisted the prospect of becoming vassals of these strange foreigners and took up arms to defend themselves. The evidence suggests that a battle ensued. A 2005 dig by archaeologists from the University of Chicago uncovered remnants of city walls at Hamukar that seemed to be riddled with pockmarks from inch-wide stones, likely hurled at the defenders by Uruks armed with slings. Larger clay shot were also uncovered. Fragments from as many as 1,200 of these projectiles were recovered from the dig, pointing to an epic battle, at least by ancient standards. Remnants of collapsed buildings containing the charred remains of Hamukar possessions were also uncovered. This, coupled with Uruk artifacts found on top of the original settlement, shows that the invaders likely slaughtered, enslaved, or scattered the original inhabitants, demolished the city, and built one of their own atop the ruins. A portion of the Stele of Vultures, a Sumerian carving depicting a clash between two Mesopotamian city-states, circa 2500 BCE. This is regarded as history's first depiction of military action. It is also evidence that the Sumerians maintained organized professional armies, another first. Following the advent of writing by the Sumerian civilization around 3200 BCE, early scribes from Mesopotamia were able to leave behind history's first known preserved accounts of war. The conflict was fought by the Sumerians and inhabitants of the region of Elam in the area around modern Basra, Iraq. According to Richard A. Gabriel and Karen Metz, authors of the 1992 work, A Short History of War, the Sumerian ruler, Sargon the Great, united a series of settlements throughout the region into a rudimentary empire using history's first professional army. But when the Sumerians tried to subdue the Elamites, the latter resisted. The resulting war occurred sometime around 2700 BCE or 2600 BCE. According to accounts from ancient Sumer, which were physically carved onto stone tablets, the army of the empire eventually rolled over the Elamites and carried away as spoil the weapons of their enemies. A more detailed account of another war, this time between competing Sumerian factions from the cities Lagash and Umma, around 2525 BCE, was immortalized pictorially in a stone tablet. It supposedly shows the slain enemies of the Lagash ruler Eannatum being torn to pieces by vultures and lions. The carving, known as the stele of vultures, stands as the first recorded likenesses of ancient soldiers, helmeted and armored spearmen arranged in tight formations being led by a figure in a chariot. According to Gabriel and Metz, the illustration suggests that the Sumerians maintained a standing army of some size. Other tablets from the era indicate that the Sumerian army around this period was at one point between 600 and 700 strong. It was equipped, provisioned, and maintained by the rulers of the empire. This was something of a novel approach, considering that other pre-Bronze Age armies were essentially citizen militias marshaled in emergencies, armed with whatever weapons were available, and then dispersed at war's end. The first detailed account of an actual clash of arms comes to us from the ancient Egyptians. The Battle of Megiddo, fought in present-day Israel, took place in the spring of 1457 BCE, when a series of Egyptian-controlled fiefdoms in present-day Syria and Israel rose up against their masters. The account of the battle, which was fought between the forces of Pharaoh Thutmose III and the rebellious ruler of Kadesh along with his Canaanite allies, includes details on the date of the battle, the size of the opposing forces, the casualties inflicted, and even the weapons used. Thanks to the ancient Egyptian historian Tianeni, who committed details of the clash to the walls of the temple of Amun-Re at Karnak, we know that the Egyptian army was between 10,000 and 20,000 strong, while Kadesh and company had between 10,000 and 15,000 combatants on the field. We also know that the pharaoh's enemies suffered about 83 deaths, and 340 of them were taken prisoner. The Egyptians carried the day after outmaneuvering the divided enemy forces using a mix of infantry and mounted archers. The victors would go on to besiege the city of Megiddo for 7 months. The king of Kadesh would surrender the city, then escape afterward. The city's inhabitants were spared.